You've run from foster homes in 6 counties.
I can take care of myself.
When you're 18, give these people a chance, because that's what they're giving you.
This is Billy Batson. Make sure you make him feel at home.
They seem nice, but don't buy it. It gets real Game of Thrones around here. Dude, just messing around. You look at me and you're like, why so dark? You're a disabled foster kid. You've got it all. If you could have one superpower, what would you pick? Everybody chooses flight. You know why?
So they can fly away from this conversation?
No, because heroes fly.
What, you need your fake family to stand up for you? Hey! Man, sorry about that. Go, go, go! Grab it! Get out the way!
Billy Batson, I choose you as champion.
Hello?
Say my name so my powers may flow through you.
But I don't know your name, sir.
Shazam.
Wait, for real?
Say it!
Okay! Shazam?
This means Billy!
What is happening?
You're the only person I know that knows anything about this Cape Crusader stuff.
Can I...
Oh, yeah. That's crazy, right?
What are your superpowers?
Superpowers, dude? I don't even know how to pee in this thing.
AM to the PM, PM to the AM.
You have super strength!
You just got
Can you fly?
If I quit your PM, I still rock Mercedes. If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
You okay? Why are you talking?
Be humble. Sit down.
You know, I don't think that's gonna buff out.
Your phone's charged. Your phone's charged.
The hell?
You're like a bad guy, right?
Gentlemen!
You have bullet immunity!
I'm bulletproof.
You're dead.
Sorry about your window, but you're welcome for not getting robbed. Oh, hey, what's up? I'm a superhero.
We have Zachary Levi playing a character who I still want to call Captain Marvel, but that's taken, unfortunately. So we're going with the more popular nickname he has, the magic word, Shazam! What do you think about this?
I don't even know where to begin. I am so happy DC is moving in this direction. Do you want to give a little bit of history to the Shazam / Captain Marvel character?
Yeah, I think I can do a brief version of that.
Brief, yeah.
Yeah, so in the 1930s, out comes Superman. He's the first real-world superhero. He's the first one to actually fly around in a cape with tights, and he is popular. So a lot of people try and copy him, try and create their own version of Superman. The only one that really seems to have staying power around the time is a character called Captain Marvel. Probably because he has a great hook, which is the idea of a little kid, the classic reader for a comic book, being able to say a magic word and having all the power in the world he needs to become a Superman character, originally called Captain Marvel. The idea is there's a wizard named Shazam. By speaking Shazam's name, you call on the power of all these ancient gods who give you a little bit of their power, and you get this little kid who becomes a super wise, super strong, super powerful, superhero. But unfortunately for Captain Marvel, DC didn't like the competition and managed to sue Captain Marvel out of existence, only to buy him off later on as their own version of the character. And unfortunately for DC, during that time period where he was out of print, Marvel Studios and Marvel Comics decided, hey, that name's up for grabs and it's kind of our moniker, so Captain Marvel's our character now. So eventually they ended up bringing the character back. but they could never sell a book as Captain Marvel, so they decided to call it Shazam. And since everybody was kind of confusing the character with the code word anyhow, you get Shazam, who is supposed to kind of be like a Superman if he had the mind of a child, who's a good person and does have wisdom of Solomon underneath there. That's what the S stands for in Shazam. But who is, still a kid. Like, it's the ultimate wish fulfillment story, and one of the very few characters who can be considered a peer of Superman in terms of power. In fact, in several comics, Shazam's the only guy who can consistently defeat Superman.
Yeah, because
Magic.
he's magical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so this movie apparently has been in development hell for about, a decade or more. And then finally, in the last couple of years, we finally got the ball rolling there. The ball rolling, weirdly, and this is a weird little sticking point for me, which I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant about, was The Rock.
Yep. Who's not even in this movie.
No, well, maybe, but I don't know. Hold on to that thought. So, the whole idea was that we were going to finally get a Shazam movie because The Rock was going to sign on to play Shazam's main rival, which is Black Adam, which might sound racist, but it's kind of not.
Just for the record, Black Adam's whole thing is he's the previous title holder to the power, and he gets his powers from the Egyptian god, so he's originally Egyptian. But,
yes.
He's also a super powerful rock-shaped humanoid, so,
Yes. So, if you're going to cast The Rock in it, perfect casting. But the fact is that was one of the big hindrances about this movie going forward. So, I don't know. I even kind of heard a lot of rumor about the fact that The Rock was the reason that this movie hasn't been made yet, because he wanted a solo Black Adam movie. And the studios were like, no, we kind of need you to be the main villain for the Shazam movie. And he was pushing back a lot. So, whatever roundabout we kind of got to, guess what? We're getting a Shazam movie. Now, I think that Hopper would agree with me that the DCEU has been spotty, to say the best, about what they've released as far as content.
Yeah, we both like it, but it's
good, but it's questionable as far as its actual quality, and it's all very, very dark.
Yeah. Even Wonder Woman was kind of dark.
Yeah. I mean, Justice League is the lightest thing that we've actually had the entire way through. And it still had its moments of levity. And somehow, and again, and I want to make my next point very clear. Zack Snyder, who was appointed the head of the DCEU, is going through something that no parent would ever want to go through. I don't want to go into it right now. It makes me want to cry. But he's dealing with some stuff that made him step away from the entire DC universe. I wish him all the best. But when he stepped aside, his vision kind of gave some openings for some directors who could do their own thing. I think we kind of saw that with Wonder Woman, who had a movie that just filled me with so much joy and hope. And that was great to see from DC. And Justice League kind of even had the same thing because Joss Whedon got to come on and fill some of the gaps that Zack Snyder was having. And now, the next two movies we're going to get from the DCEU are Aquaman, which we're going to talk about in a little while, but Shazam, a child who can turn into a superhero. And the trailer, I kid you not, I have watched at least a dozen times at this point. I love the idea of this.
Oh, yeah. And, I never really had faith in the film that much until I heard that Zachary Levi was cast as Shazam. Because then I went, oh, yeah, Chuck is Shazam? Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. That's going to work. And, come on, man. Zachary Levi is doing a great job in this thing so far, it looks like.
Does he not strike you as a person that you could still, see alongside Superman and Batman and just be like, This is awesome.
Oh yeah, like that's the great thing. Like he's got some serious acting chops. He's not just a comedian, but he's got his career started because he has timing down from being a comic in a funny show. And like I've seen how his workout was to get into shape. But the funny thing about Shazam is you don't necessarily need his suit to look all that natural because he's a magical being. So I don't mind that they kind of padded up his shoulders a little bit because I know that Levi's in shape. I know that, most of his, geometry is set up from the actual guy inside. But the fact he's got broader than normal shoulders, that works. And Captain Marvel has always kind of had one of the more low-key, fun designs to come as a superhero suit. With the white cape attached by a cord, just a red suit with a classic lightning bolt design. It's a good classic suit, and it doesn't really hurt to make it look a little cheesy. And combining that with Levi, you get this great, great character, Like he's going to be a joy to watch beginning to end.
He was fantastic in the trailer. I mean, I've never seen someone that was like... I'm even trying to... Okay, maybe Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Yeah. But someone who wanted to be a character that bad... Levi owns Shazam now, and it's great. And I love... Okay, so Shazam kind of became like one of my... I don't know if closet's the word I want to use, but like one of those characters that... No, you know what? I'll own it. One of my closet favorite characters about the DC universe, because who among us does not want to like be a little kid that could just basically say a word, become an adult superhero, and be like, have all the powers of all the gods at their fingertips, and yet still be themselves.
Yeah. And one thing I loved about the trailer was, like, how for a few years people were talking about Captain America? They said one of the best things about the first movie in the trailer that didn't make it over was, thin Cap trying to use, like, the trash can lid as a shield to defend himself and fight. Like, as a callback to the classic character. I love how when they show little, Billy Batson, they show him almost walking away from Freddie Freeman, his adoptive brother. And then, one of them says, like, your fake family gonna protect you? And he just pauses, walks back, and he's like, well, I've got to fight you now because you're attacking a guy who you kind of said is my little brother, so I'm going to have to stand up to you and hit you in the face with this club. Thunk! Ha-ha! Like, I like that. Like, they make you cheer for Billy Batson early on in the trailer, and they make you cheer for Freddie Freeman, too, which is good because I don't know how many of you guys who are watching and listening to this know about this, but, yeah, the kid with the crutch, that's another superhero. The idea is that if Shazam needs backup, he can split his powers with his friends. And one is Freddie Freeman, who can get some powers, and the other would be Mary, who's a character we're not seeing yet, but I don't know what their names would be. But, I liked how they made you enjoy the character of Billy Batson before you actually got to see Shazam, because it went ahead and kind of embraced a little bit of escapism that kind of comes with it. We all would love to be the kid who stood up when he didn't have the strength to, and then he gets rewarded for it and gets some extra power. But I want to bring up one other thing here about the actors. Did you recognize who's playing the Wizard?
Oh, that is a Jimon Hansu?
Yes. And that's actually kind of weird.
It was apparently defected from the Marvelverse, so...
Well, it's not just that. Actually, Jimon Hansu is going to be in not one, not two, but 3 superhero movies in the next, 16 months. Because he's coming back as Ronan the Accuser's sidekick in Captain Marvel, because they're bringing back Ronan the Accuser and, his buddy, Korax, I think. He's going...
Oh!
Yeah, he's also motion captured and voicing one of the Fisher people from Aquaman, and he's the Wizard, which is good, because honestly, I always kind of felt that he was too good of an actor to not be in as many blockbusters as everybody else. Because, the man's had an Academy Award for over a decade now, and he'd still have people who can't really say his name. Which is kind of a shame because he is a genuinely great actor. And I like the fact they're casting him as the Wizard because his voice has some gravitas to it. Say my name. Shazam. Say it! Oh, Shazam! I'm liking that.
But that whole scene just plays out like the way a scene between a ancient wizard and a child should play out. That's what makes me give so much hope to this movie. And can I just say this too? We both love the DC universe. It's dark, usually very, very dark. They're including jokes. They're finally lightening up a little bit. And we're getting a frickin' Shazam movie.
Yeah. And
I'm so happy about this.
yeah, like the one thing I'm really curious about is Dr. Savannah as played by Mark Strong. I mean, it's Mark Strong's second crack at being a supervillain. He was the best thing about the Green Lantern movie when he played Sinestro. And it looks like he's playing pretty much just a classic Dr. Savannah character here. But I've kind of got the...
But, can I point out, he's playing the new 50-for-2 version.
Yes. Which
I like.
Yeah. But at the same time, the fact that he's not featured that much in the trailer makes me think that it may be kind of a Marvel situation where they want to focus on the character first, then have the bad guy come in and do a good job, but not necessarily steal the show. Which may be the thing with The Rock as Black Adam.
Well, and the thing is, I've heard that maybe The Rock has a post-credit scene where he's Black Adam. So I'm not discounting the possibility that he's out of it, but I don't know. I've heard The Rock hijacked this whole project for so long. The fact that it even exists makes me happy. Shazam is like one of those characters, again, if I'm redundant, I apologize, but there are certain characters in the DC universe that I think work well in pop culture. Shazam is one of them. Okay, so you know one of the reasons we love Spider-Man? He's a teenager who has all these powers and abilities of a superhero, but yet he's balancing all of these responsibilities as a superhero, right?
Yeah.
Imagine being a foster child who can yet somehow manifest into a god, basically, and yet still save the lives of millions or thousands or whatever the scale of the adventure is, and yet still be a foster kid.
Yeah. And still have, like, a buddy to look after. Like, I love how they're showing him and Freddy, like, you know, being buddies still. Because, for one thing, Zachary Levi clearly has good chemistry with the actor playing Freddie Freeman. I mean, you can feel that coming off of them, because they do act like buddies and brothers, even though, you know, Zachary Levi is probably old enough to be the kid's father. But, you know, it's... The escapism element of Shazam is one that's very hard to match. Very hard to match, I think, in terms of the actual appeal.
Yes, and you know, you and I have both defended the DC universe so much. When you look at something like what we're going to get from Shazam, and even in flashback to Man of Steel, do you ever like look back at that and be like, do you feel like that was just so dark for Superman?
Honestly, looking back on it, I never felt the attraction to the Jonathan Kent part, you know, where he dies. I always kind of felt kind of like a thing where Jeff Johns is nodding his head going, yes, suffering makes heroes must suffer. And I'm just kind of going, he didn't need that. We could just have him be a little lonely and then become a hero. We don't need him to suffer some great tragedy. Like, Billy Batson's clearly in a bad situation, kind of in terms of, you know, like his life beforehand. Because you can tell he's got the kind of toughened foster kid shell. But it's good to see him actually get a chance to just be a goofy kid again. Because in a way, like, I think if you watched it, Billy Batson comes off as more of a grouchy teenager. But then when he becomes Shazam, he's a kid again.
He lightens up.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay.
I can
Life
stop
is good.
bullets. You're dead.
Yes. So, yeah, there's a lot to go there. Man, I think DC's moving in a... I don't want to say the Marvel direction, but they're going like, okay, not everything is despair or hopelessness. It's
joy.
You can pull joy out of tragedy. You can be miserable and yet somehow find life. I mean, I'm somehow hoping that whatever happens with Batman somehow winds up there. I mean, we love Batman. We love that. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, obviously, but like we enjoyed the Batmans we got out of Justice League and Batman versus Superman and even Suicide Squad for that little bit. Wouldn't you love like the little bit of like Batman that could like pull joy out of something?
I want
to come forward a little bit more.
I want Bat Dad. I want Batman reconciling with Nightwing, hanging out with, a new Robin, teaming up with Oracle / Batgirl, and I want him to get one of his kids back and have to deal with, okay, Jason Todd's back. He's not acting well, but my boy's back. My boy's back. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, boy. He better not die again. I will murder someone if he dies again. But he's back. I'm happy. It's a weird feeling. My face is contorting into some unnatural form. It's called a smile, Bruce. Shut up, Dick. Can't be a smile. I'm Batman. Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be. Also as fun as the Aquaman trailer.
Yeah, which I'll go ahead and stop the recording for the YouTube video now. This has been a Franchise Wars production. We are a small podcast duo. You can find us on the iTunes podcast listing. Just type in Franchise Wars and you should find us there with our funny little Star Wars symbol at the top. And if you're interested in more of our content that's not just podcast or YouTube video, you can track down our Tumblr page. It's Franchise Wars, again, on Tumblr. We've got several articles on like Star Wars. We've got some on some cartoons that I have made and some fan art that the Condor has made. And we've also got a few episodes that we'd like to tell you about from our podcast. If you're a big fan of Teen Titans, then we have a Teen Titans Go episode where we compare and contrast the 2003 show versus the Teen Titans Go show that is taking its place. We also have episodes comparing and contrasting Star Wars The Force Awakens versus Star Wars The Last Jedi. We've also got Star Wars Rogue One versus Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. And we've got numerous other fan films and geeks as well. So if you want to check out anything, please go ahead and go there. Thanks for listening, and see you later.